Anywho, on to the tips. Hi, welcome back. I'm going to talk a little bit today about some of the things on my travels, things I learned, things that made the trip more enjoyable, and some of the things that didn't work so well. One of the things I wanted to talk about was airplane clothes. And the thing that really worked about this was the pants were very stretchy, almost like jeggings or leggings. They were very comfortable on the plane. The shirt had a high collar, and the sleeves were fitted so that I didn't have to worry about having my shirt pull off my shoulders when I was lifting luggage. So you don't have to worry about wardrobe malfunctions. The lanyard thing that I wore around my neck, big enough for passport, phone, a few credit cards, a little bit of loose change. I used the heck out of that thing. This one actually was long enough to sort of hang. I could put it under my clothes and it would be completely hidden, but at the same time very accessible. All I had to do was just lift my shirt a little bit and there was what I needed, but it was also secure. So that was a really good thing. That one is actually made by Samsonite. This pouch was great. I liked it because it was clear. I put all the papers, maps, which I'll talk about in a minute. Passport would be in here. My tickets would be in here. Whenever I needed anything that was paper, I also had a pen in here. I knew, go to this pouch, and it fit in my backpack just like this. Because it's clear, I could pop certain things in the front or back and read them without even taking them out of the pouch. Now, maps. I bought a ton of maps for my trip. They're great for planning, but you can get all this information online. As far as maps go, you don't need to pack them and take them with you. You can get maps for free at a lot of the hotels. They're smaller and easier to follow than the detailed maps that I took with me, and then you can just throw them away. That was something I packed I really didn't need to pack. There were airplanes, there were trains, there was hotel rooms, and all this stuff was like, I need everything I need in one place. So I made a spreadsheet. I went through each email and it had everything like confirmation numbers, seat numbers, what time the plane takes off, what time the plane lands, the hotel phone number, the Wi-Fi access code, anything that was in those emails that I thought we might need to refer to at some point in the future. Then I had the addresses of the people we were staying with and their phone numbers. And any notes, like on one of these, my friend needed to make sure she had a certain credit card with her when we picked up our train tickets because the tickets were tied to that card. So I wrote that note on there. When I got to the train station, he wanted to know our confirmation number, and I just handed him this piece of paper. It's a lot easier, especially when there's an accent or a language barrier, to just show it written down. So this was one of the better ideas I have ever had in my life, and I left a copy of it on the refrigerator. I sent a copy to my travel buddy. She was able to give it to her husband. Everybody had what they needed. The USB phone charger I talked about a few weeks ago was made by a company called Omar's, and I do not recommend it any longer. It lasted about 2 months. It died the night before my trip. I ran to Best Buy and I bought this one. Now the difference between this one and the Omar's was I can't record directly onto this one, but I would take a day's worth of photos and videos and then I would transfer them to this, clear out my storage on my phone, and my pictures were on here. I ended up taking 2,000 pictures, some of which were videos. I couldn't have done that if I didn't have this USB. This is Sandisk, and I got it at Best Buy. It was about $30 something. Highly recommend. There were 2 cosmetic items I took with me that my friend was like, you do not need to take a hairdryer. They have hair dryers at all the hotels. I did not use the flat iron as much as I would have if I were at home. Basically, we were going out all the time. We were sweating. We were getting windblown. It was sort of pointless. I just put my hair up in a clip or a ponytail. But this is a neat little item, and as you can see by this picture, I really should have used it on this particular day, but I didn't, so I had very frizzy hair. And it's a neat thing. I used it for sure once, but I probably could have gotten by without it the whole trip. The hairdryer, on the other hand, I used all the time, and I'm glad I took it because not all the hotels in Europe have hairdryers in the room. Some of them have them that you can request, and I didn't have to mess with that. And even my friend who I traveled with borrowed this once. And the other thing was we were staying with friends for a good portion of the trip, and I did not have to ask to use their hairdryer, which would have been inconvenient for them, and I would have felt like I was burdening them. So I'm really glad I have this. It just folds up and travels real nicely. One of the things that I really used a lot was my portable phone chargers or device chargers, and those were just invaluable. And the other thing that I got that I've talked about before is this little portable fan. We flew into Paris on the hottest day in decades. It was 107, 108 degrees. The air conditioner in the hotel didn't work very well. Even though I'm from Texas, I don't handle heat well. We have air conditioners in Texas. You can get in, you can escape from the heat. I had also not packed for hot weather, so I didn't have any tank tops. I didn't have any shorts. I was rolling up my jeans, and I was miserable. We only had one half a day in Paris and overnight, and then we left the next morning. But I just laid there with my fan blowing on me on the bed, trying to cool off. And then that heat continued as we went into Belgium. I used it every night. It provided noise. It provided that little bit of breeze that I'm used to when I'm at home. And that thing was wonderful. It also plugged into those chargers that I had. It didn't wear my charger out at all. One of the things I did that helped me keep track of everything was I put all my tech into this clear bag. And I really used clear bags and containers a lot on this trip. And here's a picture of just all my clear bags lined up. Because they were clear, I could easily see, oh, this one's got makeup in it, this one's got technology in it. When I went through security at the airport, I was able to just open this up, lay it in the little bin with all the tech just sitting right there on top, send it through the x-ray machine, one and done, no problems, close it up, zip it when I got on the other side. Some of the things that I took that were probably what you would consider not necessary, but I'm really glad I took them, was cold brew iced tea bags. I'm an iced tea drinker. I drink iced tea all day, every day, and I was able to brew it myself because you're not going to find iced tea across the pond. The other thing, I use artificial sweetener. I prefer Sweet and Low. If you do prefer artificial sweetener, take your own, because they do have some, but it took me a while before I ever saw anything that wasn't real sugar. I threw in a few Band-Aids and some Neosporin at the last minute. And I'm so glad I did, because, funny story, not funny at the time, we were in the Gare du Nord train station in Paris, and they switched our trains. It's a different language. We didn't know where we were. We didn't know what we were doing. And so at the last minute, we had to run. They told us to run. We were running. I'm carrying a backpack with a little cart on wheels. I'll talk about that in a minute. It liked to tip and turn, and it wasn't really the best idea in the world. So I'm running, carrying this backpack on wheels, and something happened. I don't know if I tripped on the wheels or what, but I went splat. So I get myself up. My pride is severely bruised. We get on the train, and I'm like, well, at least I don't have, any damage. Then I start to feel a little bit of something at my knee, and turns out I had quite a skinned knee. It didn't tear my jeans, but it did skin my knee, and so I had a nice big mark, and I was able to, a little bit later, get some Neosporin on that and a Band-Aid to cover it up. But do take maybe a couple Band-Aids and some Neosporin and some ibuprofen. I needed that a few times too. Probably one of the major mistakes I made was I packed for Europe and Scotland. I had no shorts, no tank tops, no warm weather clothes. I was able to finally buy some, and that made a huge difference. The plan was to take a backpack and a day bag, and that's what we did. But I thought, well, I'll put my backpack on wheels. And so before the second leg of the trip, I ditched the wheels and just carried the backpack. There's a little photo. This is actually a reflection in a window of me and my friend carrying our backpacks, but you can sort of see what we were dealing with here. She did the backpack the whole time, and but she also didn't buy a lot of stuff. But I started buying things. I got this great coat. Look at this leather bag. I'll talk about that in a different video. It's a really cool leather bag. And some antiques from when I went to a couple of flea markets, small things, and souvenirs, and chocolate. We got chocolate in Belgium. So all that stuff added weight and space to the bag, and so it was getting to be a bit much. But I wouldn't have been able to get it or a few of the other things if I had continued to limit myself to the backpack only. So that's why I upgraded, borrowed a bag. You can always find a thrift store. You can get a used one. It'll just get you home. So we started out light. We came in a little heavy at the end, and both on the scale and with the luggage. Telephones over there. We did two different ways. My friend got a SIM card that she installed in her phone from over there, and I just called my provider and said, what do you have for international travel? And there was a 30-day package I could buy, or I could pay $10 a day. So I bought the 30-day package. There were pros and cons to both. One is my phone worked just like it normally works in all the countries that we went to. The downside was I really had to watch my data usage. And I had a limit. I had to make sure I didn't go over that. So what I did is I kept turning my data off. When I was at the various houses and hotels we went to, I was able to hook into Wi-Fi, not using data. So it worked really well. My friend who had the SIM card had a little bit of problems at first. It was a UK bought SIM card, and our first destination was in the EU. And so there was one step she missed, and so she had a little bit of trouble getting her phone to work like a normal phone at first, but then later everything was fine. So she would say that was the way to go. I paid about $60 for my plan for 30 days that I had to limit my usage, and she paid about $20 for her SIM card. My absolute favorite things of all I did was the fan, the spreadsheet, clear bags, my own tea and sweetener. Be organized. That's the thing. You need to be able to know where things are and how to get to them quickly. Just think of ways that you can make it more organized and make it easier on yourself to find those things, to get through security, to do what you need to do. I hope some of this will help you in your travels to just make things go smoother and have a better time. See you next time. Bye-bye.